Week 1 NFL Awards.
These are your weekly NFL awards.
I'll be handing out awards every week of the NFL season. Some awards will be here every week, some will come and go, but the important thing is that we acknowledge the players and teams that need to be acknowledged, and we are going to do that starting with our Daddy of the Week, and that is Justin Herbert. Now you may be wondering what exactly goes into choosing the Daddy of the Week. Is it best player, most impactful, what is it? I would advise you not to think too hard about it because I am just going off of who I believe exhibited the most daddy-like behavior. And to me in week 1, that was absolutely Justin Herbert. The Kansas City Chiefs being winless heading into week 2 of the NFL season is an absolutely marvelous thing to see, and they were taken down by a team that they usually have their way with. But if man turned into when Justin Herbert stomped on their throats in the second game of the season. Friday night in Brazil, Justin Herbert showed everyone why so many people still believe in him despite the playoff shortcomings, despite sometimes not showing himself to be the guy that we want him to be, but he is fully healthy, he's dotting guys up, and if this is the Herbert we get all season, this is a Justin Herbert that will be in MVP conversations. But for now, he's at least in daddy conversations because he is Patrick Mahomes' daddy. Next up, we have Bum of the Week. Now, for those of you familiar with my fantasy football content, you may be familiar with Bust of the Week. This is not necessarily the same thing, although some weeks it might be the same guy. But Bum of the Week is not necessarily fantasy related. It's just the guy who sucked the most and cost his team the most. And this week's Bum of the Week is Tua Tagovailoa. Tua Tagovailoa, when defenses don't just allow him to throw 70-yard bombs to Tyreek over the top of their heads, is essentially Nathan Peterman with a cooler name. It's funny because I feel like the off-season vibes and the preseason vibes with the Dolphins were so bad that it was almost like there's no way they're actually going to be that bad in season, right? Well, Tua looked lost, Mike McDaniel's probably going to be out of a job by week 7, and I could feel the Tyreek Hill crash out loading. It's almost at 100% completion. Now, because Bum of the Week isn't necessarily the fantasy bust of the week, of course we also have a bust of the week. You guys had to see that coming. And this week's fantasy football bust of the week is Jamar Chase. You know, I almost hesitated in choosing Jamar Chase for this because we are just so used to this with the Bengals. I'll be honest, I didn't think it was gonna happen this year because they actually played their starters in the preseason in hopes to get guys warm for once. And to their credit, I guess it kind of worked because the Bengals at least didn't lose the game to the Browns, but their offense still looked as bad and as sputtery as it usually does in week 1, emphasized by Jamar Chase's pitiful 3.6 fantasy points. Joe Burrow wasn't any better with 8.82 points, T. Higgins with 4.8 points. It was pretty much all bad for the Bengals offense, which again, I guess we should have all expected because it is week 1. Game of the week. This one was not a hard decision because the Buffalo Bills against the Baltimore Ravens in week 1 might have been one of the best NFL games of all time. And that's not a week 1 hyperbole just because we all miss football. This was genuinely one of the best games we could have ever asked for, no matter what week it happened in. Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson going back and forth showing you why they are the 2 best quarterbacks in the game today. Derrick Henry refusing to age. It was an instant classic in every sense of the word. And with any luck, a preview of this year's AFC Championship game. Now, up until Sunday Night Football, I did have the winner of this award marked as Steelers versus Jets, so I want to give them a quick shout out too, because who the heck saw that coming? 2 teams that just swapped quarterbacks and have extremely questionable offenses, and 2 teams with, on paper at least, really good defenses end up in a high-scoring shootout, because of course. Next up, we have Team of the Week, and I'm giving this one to the Green Bay Packers. Obviously, you can make arguments for a lot of teams with this one. The Los Angeles Chargers for knocking off the Chiefs week 1, the Buffalo Bills for that incredible comeback against the Ravens, but I'm gonna give it to the Packers, simply because of the absolute statement they made in the NFC North, dominating the Detroit Lions in week 1. The Packers acquired Micah Parsons, and a lot of people were immediately putting them into Super Bowl discussions. And they showed in week 1 that optimism probably wasn't unwarranted. They stepped on the Lions' throats, probably justified a lot of the concerns that people had about the Lions coming into this season, losing so many of their coaches and starting offensive linemen. And in an eventful week 1 where a lot of statements were made, this might have been the biggest one. Now, a lot of these awards are gonna mimic actual NFL awards, starting with this one, Offensive Player of the Week. And this week, it was not a difficult decision. It's going to Josh Allen. Essentially single-handedly willing the Bills to victory over the Baltimore Ravens in a game that seemed like it was decided with about 7 minutes left. 33 for 46 passing, 394 yards, 2 touchdowns, along with 14 carries for 30 yards and 2 more touchdowns on the ground. If you had Josh Allen in fantasy, you are living it up after week 1. And if you're a Bills fan, you're living it up because you have the best quarterback on the planet playing football for your team. Defensive Player of the Week. Now, I promise I'm not going to be biased in these awards, generally speaking, but I am always going to be excited when I can shout out one of my Patriots. And after week 1, Harold Landry III is leading the NFL with 2.5 sacks. The Patriots' performance against the Raiders left a lot to be desired, but one thing that I was pretty excited about was the performance of the defense overall. They bottled up the Raiders' run game, pressured the quarterback quite a bit with Harold Landry at the center of it, and hey, if he keeps up this pace, he'll finish the year with 42.5 sacks. Surely that's not unreasonable. Offensive Rookie of the Week. This one is gonna go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Emeka Egbuka. You know, when you hear all that camp hype, camp buzz, sometimes you don't know exactly what to believe, how much of it's blown out of proportion, how much of it is actually deserved. Well, it seems like all the buzz surrounding Emeka Egbuka was 100% deserved because he showed out in week 1. 4 catches, 67 yards, 2 touchdowns, including the game winner with a minute left on down the clock, Egbuka came into the league with the pedigree of being the most pro-ready guy in the class. And that definitely showed itself in week 1. Defensive Rookie of the Week. Now, I'll be honest, going forward, I'm probably going to need your guys' help with this one, because it's kind of hard to track week-to-week defensive stats on a lot of these sites, and I honestly am not sure I'm going to know exactly which players are rookies and which aren't. Obviously, I'm familiar with like the early round picks. I watched the NFL draft like everyone did, but I'm worried I might not recognize some of these 5th, 6th, 7th rounders if they actually end up having a breakout game deserving of this award. So just let me know on social media going forward if a defensive rookie has a really nice game and you want to nominate him for this award. For week 1, it wasn't as hard to pick somebody. I'm going with the Eagles' Jahad Campbell. He had a huge forced fumble in week 1 against the Cowboys and dropped very deep into coverage, showing the insane versatility that he has. I still don't understand how the rest of the league let the Eagles get him at the end of the first round, but whatever. If you all want to torture yourselves, be my guest. So we're going with Jahad Campbell this week. Next, we have Play of the Week. Obviously, this award will go to the most outstanding play, no matter what type of play it is. And in week 1, speaking of rookies, this award is going to go to a guy who didn't have another catch the entire game, but the one catch he did have might end up being the best catch of the whole season. Isaac Tisla, I still don't know how he came down with this in bounds. It's no wonder Dan Campbell after the game said we have to get this guy more involved. Yeah, I would too when he's scoring touchdowns like he's Spider-Man. Just a freak of nature type of play, and I'm excited to see more of him going forward. Comeback Player of the Week. Now, in future weeks, this will probably go to a guy who had a bad game and then had a really good game to follow it up. But for week 1, obviously, there were no games before this. So I'm gonna go with somebody who was good week 1 after a bad and injured year last season, and that's Christian McCaffrey. We all sounded the alarm bells again this season because he popped up on the injury report with another calf issue right before week 1, and his fantasy owners all had the worst deja vu you could ever have. But it turned out he was fine, and not only was he fine, he was the focal point of the 49ers offensive game plan, as he usually is when he's healthy. 22 carries for 69 yards on the ground, nothing special there, but 9 catches for 73 yards through the air on 10 targets, as he reminded everyone exactly why he's one of the most dangerous offensive weapons in the NFL. Breakout Player of the Week. This award is going to go to a guy each week who bursts onto the scene and whose breakout I think there's at least a good chance ends up being sustainable. And in week 1, that was Michael Penix Jr. 27 for 42 for 298 yards and a touchdown, and 6 carries for 21 yards and another touchdown on the ground where he stretched across the goal line, also looking like Spider-Man, or maybe Mr. Fantastic. I don't know, pick whatever superhero you want to compare him to. But the fact we're comparing him to superheroes should say a lot. Penix looked the part, he played great, and that is fantastic news for the Atlanta Falcons, who absolutely need Penix to work out. Next, we have the funniest touchdown of the week. This award will go to the most random player to score a touchdown every week, the type of touchdown that helps absolutely no one in fantasy and who was scored by a guy you might have forgot even existed. For week 1, I'm gonna go with Ben Skoranek. This was just peak Arthur Smith offense. In a game where the Pittsburgh Steelers and Aaron Rodgers had 4 passing touchdowns, none of them went to DK Metcalf or Pat Freiermuth. I mean, why would they? Never change, Arthur. I'm kidding, please change. The Nathan Peterman Award for the worst interception of the week. Initially, I had the winner of this award as Tua Tagovailoa, but Monday Night Football brought us a new winner in the form of JJ McCarthy. I can't blame the guy too much, it was his first NFL start, but my goodness did he telegraph this one. This might be the easiest pick 6 Nashawn Wright ever gets. Credit to JJ McCarthy though, he bounced back, which is why I'm giving him another award, the Tom Brady Award for Clutch Performance of the Week. This dude played 3 quarters of some of the most abysmal football I've ever seen in my life. And then in the 4th quarter decided to go God mode. JJ was unfazed, accounted for 3 touchdowns in the 4th quarter, and led the Vikings to an impressive win over the Bears. I'll be honest, I was skeptical of JJ McCarthy up until this point, and I was especially skeptical of him through the first 45 minutes of that game, but to see how unshakable he is, I think I'm a believer. At the very least, he's definitely made a fan out of me. Next, we have the Don't Check Your DMs Award. This is for anyone that makes an utterly back-breaking play that costs his team the game, a poorly timed penalty, drop, coaching decision, whatever it may be. But for week 1, it is a drop. In fact, it's a series of drops, and the award goes to CeeDee Lamb. The Cowboys were surprisingly competitive with the Eagles in the season opener, and they actually had a chance to win the game down the stretch. But CeeDee Lamb tallied 4 drops in this game, including several on the final drive, and you know things are bad when you go to the facility by yourself on your day off to catch some extra passes from the jugs machine. Painful game for CeeDee Lamb. I'm sure he'll bounce back, but for now, maybe stay off social media. Oh yeah, I forgot. We also have the Quentin Johnston Award for worst drop, which I may have to rename because Quentin Johnston might be good now. But that goes to CeeDee Lamb too. Next up, we have the Kyle Pitts Award. This award goes to the player who is all hype and no substance. And I hate to say this, and I don't think it'll continue for the whole year, but as for week 1, it goes to Ashton Genty. Those of you fantasy players out there might not have noticed how bad it was because he saved his day with a touchdown, but 19 carries for 38 yards isn't gonna get it done. Again, this is not an indictment or prediction on him going forward. It's simply a commentary on what happened week 1. There was a lot of hype surrounding Ashton Genty, a lot of it peddled by me, but for week 1, it did not pan out. Next up, we have the Unk Still Got It Award. This award goes to the best performance by an old player, and as much as it pains me, I have to give this one to Aaron Rodgers. 22 for 30 for 244 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. That type of performance when he didn't play a single preseason snap with his new teammates is incredibly impressive. I'll be honest, I'm very skeptical that he can keep this up, but there's no denying the results so far. Next, we have the Bugatti in the Trailer Park Award. This goes to the player with the best performance in a losing effort, who's probably on a pretty bad team, or is just Joe Burrow. But as for week 1, this award goes to Justin Fields. I think if you would have told Jets fans that Justin Fields week 1 against the Steelers defense was going to go 16 for 22 for 218, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, while adding 2 more touchdowns on the ground, they would have taken that so fast they would have left your head spinning. And yet, the Jets defense just couldn't stop old man Aaron, leaving Justin Fields with nothing to show for this performance. Normally, you won't catch me calling Justin Fields a Bugatti in any sense of the word, but he played like one in week 1. Next, we have the Where the did that come from award for best unexpected performance of the week, and this one goes to Daniel Jones. The outcome of this game may end up boiling down to just Dolphins bad, but we gotta give some kind of props to Daniel Jones for his performance. 22 for 29, 272 yards and a touchdown through the air, and he added his Vanilla Vic flavor on top of it, taking 7 carries for 26 yards and another 2 touchdowns on the ground. I hate to say it, but Daniel Jones might be what Shane Steichen wanted Anthony Richardson to be all along. But I don't expect Jones to do this every week, so while he's deserving of this award, I'm also gonna give the I'm not falling for that award to the Indianapolis Colts. I feel like I've seen this movie before with the New Orleans Saints last year, having a quarterback and offense that you just don't expect a lot from, and yet they put on a show week 1. And I'm just not willing to pull a full 180 on Daniel Jones after one game against what could end up being the worst team in the NFL. Sorry, Colts, but I'm not falling for it. That'll do it for this week. Let me know in the comments if there are any awards you want me to hand out in the future, and I can try to add them in. But for now, as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.